Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derbies, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Crash Course, episode number 196. On deck, we're going to be talking with Dustin Ingram here in just a little bit, talking about his run at the Lake Erie Rumble, which was over the weekend. We're going to be talking with Chris Lancaster a little bit later on about his run to a win in Corcoran, Minnesota. He's on a little bit of a hot streak, and now's the right time of the year to start getting momentum on your side, because Blizzard Bash is only about 60 days away from here, and Lancaster is going to be in the national draw. And that one, I'm going to get some thoughts from him and his card choice. I think we're also going to have a quick conversation about a Cadillac that was of interest here up there in Minnesota in the past couple of weeks, and then we're going to round it out by catching up with Ed Brewster down in Virginia. Lake Erie Rumble, the show was hosted as a fundraiser for the Variety Club and the Variety Kids Telethon that they air out there in Buffalo, varietybuffalo.org. If you're looking for more information, they are the charity, children's charity of Buffalo and Western New York, raising all kinds of funds for kids. So it was a successful show. Piles of cars showed up there, and the main event was that mod class, which was quite similar to the fair class that we saw in years past, where you basically can pack as much weld into the car as you want, and go out there, run it, and make junk, and make junk they did. There was Kevin Seeley. He had a 70s Imperial out there, and had the nose knocked in on that thing that he was hitting and being hit so hard that it ripped the subframe rail out from the floor behind the firewall, pulled the bolts right through the floor, and it broke the frame rails completely off the car, right at the front wheels. So it was certainly some chaos there. Tom Henderson, he ran a bunch of times. Dave King, Evan King, both of them running a bunch of times through the course of the day. Alan McNeil, Scott Stein, Derek Head, all the cast of characters from out there at the Chautauqua County Fair, turning out in support of the Lake Erie Rumble, which for the first year was overseen by Bob Head. And I got to believe that it's going to go down as a pretty successful show. I'm sure Dustin Ingram, who's joining us on the hotline right now, he's certainly a fan of how it played out. You've been trying to get your hands on Imperials out there in Dunkirk for the last little bit after everything that your buddy Jimmy Biggs has been telling you. Finally, it worked out, and you walked away with a win.
Yeah, we just he promised me there'd be some Imperials there, and I've been bugging him for probably about a year now, telling him what a Crown Vic will do to an Imperial. I guess I made a believer out of him.
Did it go the way that you thought it was going to go? The track was dry. It was hard. They didn't put a lot of water on it through the course of the day. It was a nice cool day. So the carburetors, those motors were making all kinds of power. Did the feature play out the way that you expected it to?
Yeah, you can never. I knew Tom, and with Tom and Dave out there, you can't count your chickens that you're going to win the Derby right away. That's a Bash for Cash champion you're talking about there, so you don't know how things are going to work out. But it's I knew that was who it was going to come down to. I kind of figured that, but I just got lucky enough to test play them and come away with the win.
Do you get nervous anymore? With as much success as you've had and the situations that you've been in, it's fun to watch you drive. And Dave King's much the same way. I mean, at one point, he even reached out the window to flick dirt off of his hand. He was just calm, relaxed in the cockpit. Do you get nervous anymore when you've got two cars as good as Dave King and Tom Henderson had, and it turned into 2-on-1? You didn't seem like you got rattled or anxious at all.
I don't really get excited ever. I never really have. It still gets the adrenaline going, or else it wouldn't be worth doing. But as far as excited goes, no, not really. It's just another Derby. I don't really care who's in the other car. It's just another car. Every car can be beat.
Where's this one fall in terms of wins? I mean, this is a special one for the guys out there in Dunkirk. I don't know how much time you put into researching it or any of the information that you got from Jimmy. Where's this one rank?
It's just a fair Derby to me.
Yeah.
It was. I come down there last year and ran.
Right. Yeah, you ran in the muddy mess that ended up they ended up calling the Derby because the track had got so bad with the thunderstorm, and then there was tornado warnings in the area as well.
Yeah, and then at that point it was down to Tommy Henderson and I and Jimmy, and so I bugged. Tommy and I are actually good friends. We get along pretty good in the last couple of years, and I kept bugging Tommy that we had unfinished business and we had to figure that out sooner or later. Somebody's unbeaten streak against each other had to go, but we're good friends and we just laugh about it after. It's good.
The Derby played out with early on. Kevin Seeley went nose to nose with you, and it broke the rails on his Imperial, and then you ended up shoving him up in the blocks. Once it got down to you, Dave, and Tom, it was a bunch of good driving clinic. I mean, you might not see as a bunch of haymakers being thrown, but it was a lot of good driving, protective driving, making sure that you didn't give up the wheels to loose steering or have a tire go flat or put the car in a situation where it's at risk. Tommy ended up getting stuffed down into the mud and couldn't get out. At that point, when it got to be just one-on-one with you and Dave, what at that point was your goal? What were you trying to do? Were you trying to serve a knockout punch or use the arena to win the fight?
No, yeah, I just wanted to kind of get a good run in and kind of stretch it out a little bit. I've had a terrible year up until about the last, say 3 weeks. With very short runs. I don't lots of wins, but just short runs and nobody really stretching me out or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It was great to get in with those guys, and I just wanted to play for a little while and stretch it out and get some time on the engine and just the parts and get the feel for a while. It was the biggest thing. We've had a couple good weeks here. The last couple weeks have been pretty good to us, but still just no long runs, and it was nice with those two to just keep them too busy at the same time and not sit still. That was just the biggest thing. So
when it came down, you ended up getting in front of Dave, bumper to bumper, and you guys were shoving each other around. You flexed a little bit of muscle. You were able to push him backwards, and then he dug a hole, got himself stuck, and that was the end of it. You focusing on putting more runtime on the car. Was that something that you were trying to do in terms of engine maintenance, trying to get the car to have to shove things around instead of laying haymakers and getting it over with quick? Was it within the strategy then to get bumper to bumper, to have to shove around, move extra weight, work the transmission, and things along those lines?
Exactly. I'm not a backup and full track kind of guy. I just like working people over. Like you don't want to wreck anybody's parts unless you have to if you're a good friend like that. So it was just kind of put some stress on the drive line, see how it works out, and see if you can outstress somebody else's drive line. There you go.
What's a good indicator for you in terms of a piece being reliable? You've talked a couple times now about stressing the drive line and putting runtime on it. At what point do you start to feel comfortable with an engine or with a transmission after you've got a little bit of runtime on it? I mean, I can see where if it's over quick and you don't stress it, then you don't find any of those weak points. So what's the barometer? What's the gauge?
Yeah, with me, I don't know anymore. Jeremy builds my engines. Jeremy Garr builds my engines. It's pretty hard to. I don't know. Jeremy treats me well. It's hard to, how do you say it? They're always going to be reliable, but my reliable and somebody else's reliable is a little different. I want that engine to run 2 hours, 2.5 hours, because I always feel that the cars and the driver can take that. So as long as the engine can take that, that's good. So Dunkirk there, we were using a lot of RPMs in that, and that was, I think, 20-25 minutes. You can run 20-25 minutes with pushing the RPM and doing a lot of shifting and pushing a lot of heavy cars around, and it doesn't come off the overflow, and you don't really bring it up past operating temperature. That's a pretty successful day.
How hot was it when you got out of the car?
We didn't throw anything on it. We weren't quite sure because of kind of the chaos that happened there. We brought a heat gun with us, but then the kind of a little bit of a discussion there after the heat was done, and we kind of lost ourselves right in that point, and didn't really shoot it, but it never come off the overflow. So
right,
and just running that show there, I was only running the 16-pound cap, which is nothing compared to what we usually run, but just kind of did that on purpose just to see what kind of heat we were making, and it's not coming off with a 16-pound cap, so that's pretty good indication to let you know things are working right.
Do you have a pretty consistent maintenance program? Being as particular as you are, I'm confident that there's some sort of runtime limit that you freshen a motor, whether it needs it or not.
No, I'm too cheap for that. I'm way too cheap for that. We just know what we call the old faithful engine. Jeremy, he just freshened it up for us this year. We'll get a run on it. That was 9 years I've had that engine with no work on it. Yeah, and that's the engine that in 2015 I won all those big shows with, same engine. So it just speaks volumes of his stuff. So it's you just keep the oil changed, keep the plugs changed, tweak with the carburetors every now and then, keep things clean, keep bolts tight, and the builder takes care of the rest.
Is that's all it takes, and you can start winning? You can start going out and winning Bash for Cash and Blizzard Bash? Just got to change the oil and keep the bolts tight?
No, you need to keep time in. You need to be running against the Tom Hendersons and the Dave Kings every weekend, and not just sitting at home at your county fair and beating the same guys over and over and over again, or trying to beat the same guys over and over again. You get out there and you stretch your legs, and it ruffles some feathers sometimes. We've had a lot of stress and a lot of drama running these smaller shows the last couple of weeks, but it makes a better driver ready, I think.
In what sense?
With the stress and the drama?
Yeah, I mean...
better driver part.
The driver part. The driver part for sure. I got another question for later on, but in terms of... I would almost think that driving on the national scale is what's going to make you the better driver. What's the?
Oh no, because when you go to the national shows, everybody's got their little clique at the national shows. You go there, and it's you've got you got 4 or 5 buddies going to watch your back, and you're going to watch their back, and
sure.
And the other bunch got bad. I go down there to Dunkirk by myself. I go, you watched it. I didn't have any friends.
That is true. Yes.
So you work, if you can work your way through that whole derby by yourself and still come out with no flat tires, no broken steering, water still in the radiator, that's winning. We went up there to New Hampshire 2 weeks ago,
mm-hmm.
and ran the Superstock class up there, and I want to say there was like 19 cars in the feature, or 20, one or the other. At one point, I'm pretty sure it felt like I had about 20 bumpers on my car all at the same time.
Right.
So, and I like that stuff. That's the stuff that I like, and then be able to come away with a win on
it. It seems like you look at Derby a little bit different than some of the other folks that we've talked to, in the sense of you're looking at some of these county fairs, getting out to them as training missions, going there by yourself and using that as a way to become a better driver, versus going to the national shows and using that as the measure of how good you are as a driver. That's an interesting perspective.
I take off my role model, the one who told me you got to run all summer long. That's Bob Whitaker. You won't find a guy who runs more county fairs and small shows all through Illinois and Iowa up there all summer long. And Bob says it just keeps you sharp and it keeps you driving and you learn something new every day. Nobody knows everything. Nobody will ever know everything, and you learn something new every single day. And you just keep out there and you just keep driving, you keep building, and the more you build, the more you drive. It's better. And it shows. You watch those national shows and you go watch the guys that win, the Dick Whaleys and the Bob Whitakers. And all those guys run all summer long. They're running summer shows. Don Santel, they run all summer long. You're asking a lot if you're just going to sit around all year and wait to run those national shows. It's a lot of unproven parts, unproven drivers. It's like anything, any professional sport. Practice makes perfect.
Mm-hmm. Is Demolition Derby still fun for you?
Right now, no, because of how much work we've been doing. But after you win, it's always good right now. But I'm getting tired right now. But if I stopped working on them, then I'd be miserable because I wasn't working on them.
Right.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right?
Right.
I still enjoy the driving, enjoy the horsepower of the engines and the hard cars. I still really like all that, but the building them it'll wear you out.
Sure, I can see that. Now you're putting a car together for Sturgis, taking the year off of Blizzard Bash this year, but there's the chance that we're going to see you in Topeka again before you're done.
I'll go back to Topeka at some point. I just think that there's a lot of. I'm going to be honest. I just think there'll be a lot of mix up there this year. There won't be as smooth a transition as changing hands as everybody thinks it's going to be, and it's probably just a good year to stay away, as far as I'm concerned. And that's my own opinion. Everybody's entitled to one, and it's just a good year to stay away, and maybe go back and start a new team or hook up with the old team, whatever, and go back through the qualifying side and work my way back into it the legit way.
Well, I like the perspective of that. Putting a new team together, bringing some new blood out to Kansas. The show's going to be there. We're excited to be getting back out there. It's only 60 days away or something like that. You know, it's right around the corner. And the competition out there this year is going to be just as good as it ever has been. For certain, to put the new team in and just to volunteer for the challenge, you know, as a past winner of Blizzard Bash and a past winner of Bash for Cash, you know what it takes to compete at that level. But at the same time, you also know what it takes to compete at that level, and to look ahead and say maybe we'd put together a new team, go through the qualifying bracket with the intention of winning that to get back into the national draw. I like that. That's certainly some goal setting right there. Because you've been there, that's not an easy. You know, it's not an easy path.
Nobody deserves a free ride, as far as I'm concerned. That Derby is you need to earn your spot. It's shown. There's a lot of big names have gone out there and completely failed at that place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they come home and they run their local shows and they kill everybody. And I think that is one aspect of that show that is a really good deal, is that qualifier deal. It makes you earn your spot, and
right.
if you win that qualifier, you earn to be up there, and then when you get there, you got to win to maintain your spot.
Yep.
It's not just a let's sign up and go to Blizzard Bash. You got to deserve to be there, as far as I'm concerned.
That is one of the coolest elements of that is you need to earn your way into that national draw, and you need to show that you deserve to still be there in order to keep it year after year. It's not just as simple as hey, I want to go run this random team show over here, and you send in your entry fee and you're there, and however many teams show up is however many teams you have to run against. You know that it's going to be 16 of the nastiest built cars with some of the most skilled drivers that are going to be in one place on the planet for that show, and we're excited to be back out there. I know Tim and Russ are excited to be taking that thing over, and if there's a couple growing pains or something like that, it's going to be something I don't think is going to be overly an issue. I don't think it'll affect the show, and Tim and Russ are good people. They'll learn from any mistakes that do happen to get made. They'll make it better, and they'll have a red carpet waiting for you and the team when you guys come back.
I don't know about that. Oh, yeah, I don't really know about that, but whatever. I'm open-minded. We'll try it. I'll definitely be going back at some point.
I had a question that somebody had posed to us over the course of the day Sunday that I wanted to run by you. After you got out of the car, Bob Head, and again, this is something that I don't want Bob Head to listen back to this, or any of the people that are close to Bob and the Lake Erie show, and take this as a criticism or us coming down on him. That's not what this is intended to be. It was just something that had sparked conversation. You exited the car, and Bob was there, and you could see basically by the exchange that he either asked or told you that the car was going to be looked at in some way, shape, or form, and you nodded your head and gave a quick shrug, which I've seen you do before, because you knew that they weren't going to find anything because the car had passed already. There wasn't anything to go after and find anyhow. In your opinion, if a car passes tech inspection initially at the start of the show, is a post-race inspection necessary? I mean, as a guy who's been on so many different top-level platforms, what's your opinion on that?
2015, and at at Bash for Cash, Tim, he cut my car rate up.
Yes.
That was for $11,000.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't derbying for $11,000 yesterday. We were at a county fair. It passed the tech. It way past the rules. Was it the heaviest built car there on Sunday or Saturday, whenever that was? Yeah, sure it was. But it was still built to the rules. Just because it was pushed to the max, it was built to the rules. Mm-hmm. Post-inspections, usually at a county fair, come from sour grapes.
Right.
And usually it doesn't come from the inspector himself or the head flagman or anybody like that. It's normally somebody who had some driveway car that they put together that had no business being in that class in the first place, mm-hmm. and got themselves junked. And it's usually just county fair mentality, and it's at the national level, it's not as big a problem. It's definitely not as big a problem. Everybody's on the same respect level, and if you get beat, you get beat. I know they dragged them off this year at Bash for Cash and dragged them off, the top three cars.
Yep.
And they all walked into the barn to retech them, and they all said, "I'm happy with this car. He's happy with my car. Let's call it a day." Mm-hmm. And Russ Tim set down the torches, and they walked away. Like it's a driver respect mentality thing that if you get beat, you get beat. Just sure. You put your head down and you try harder next time. That's what you do.
But just to understand a little bit better, then at the national level, for example, after your win at Bash for Cash, you're not necessarily against having a post-race tech, having the car gone through one last time just to validate it because of the stakes.
On that kind of stage, if they want to do it, if there's a problem, sure, no problem at all. But not at a county fair.
Yeah.
If they want to post-tech it, yeah, sure, but not cut it apart, because you're not. The car's worth more money than what you're going to win, so there's no way to cut up a car or anything like that at that level. But at those national shows, and usually at the end of those shows, the cars are all spent and burnt up anyway, so you don't care whether they get cut up or not. And,
sure.
And like I said, yesterday or Saturday when it was,
Saturday.
I wouldn't care if they cut it open. If it was for some good money, I wouldn't care. I had nothing. I told them what was done to the car. It was in the rule book.
Right. The other thing too is like
the full advantage of the rule book is no way to no reason to be sour.
Right. I don't know what the impetus was. Because if you looked at the last three cars, nobody was bending. Everybody was using the noses of the cars, and you guys were going bumper to bumper a bunch of times, and nobody was moving. And not that you'd expect them to. Everybody that was out there in the top three had quality cars, and they were quality builds. You know, the tilt on Dave's car was incredible, and his car wasn't moving. Your car wasn't moving. And ultimately, it just came down to, as you described it, the chess match fell your way.
Yeah, and also the top three cars are all national level drivers.
Yep.
So it's the quality, the cream rises to the crop in every show. It just is what it is.
It's a good assessment.
So yes, people get frustrated, and yes, it's not fun, and sometimes it's not fair to get beat on. But guess what? We were all there at one point.
Right. I'm still entertained by you saying that you like running the county fairs and you got to run all summer long to keep your skills up. That's cool. I like that.
I've ran a lot this summer. A lot of small shows. I'm talking $300, $400 to win shows I've ran this year.
Wow.
They're not. They aren't getting as satisfying and stretching me out. And I've got my ass kicked at some of them. Got hung up. It happens. It's called derbying, not winning.
Right. How many runs did this car have on it? The one that you drove at Lake Erie.
You never win them all.
True.
Here, who you are, you don't win them all.
Well, statistically, you're going to lose more of them than you're going to win.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've had a couple good weeks here, so it helps out. The last couple of weeks have been pretty nice to us.
How many runs did the Crown Vic from Saturday have on it?
That was its fifth run. It was its fifth run on it. I ran a bunch of 5-foot shows up here in Canada. Mm-hmm. Nothing too special. You actually end up running against more pickup trucks and everything than you do actual cars. But
really,
nothing real special. Yesterday was definitely the first test for that, or Saturday, sorry, was the first test for that car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you had a good fight with Todd Ellman. Todd Ellman had a boxcar Imperial out there in that class. That one had a couple runs on it as well. That was an old Rick Engelhart car that Hank Pensek and Todd had built over there at Ellman's garage. It was a fun mod class. It was a fun show front to back. It was for a good cause. And you said you've only got one show left, or are you going to run a couple more besides Sturgis?
Oh no, we'll be at Paradise Speedway.
Oh, cool.
For the cleanup show there.
Yep.
I think we're going to go down to Chaos in the Valley as well.
Oh, nice. We'll see you down there.
The Turkey Derby out in Indiana, and then Sturgis as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, we got lots of time ahead of us, but it's great because Kansas usually takes up our deer hunt up here, and I'm going to get to go deer hunt for the first time in 3 years. It's actually great.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. Is there anybody that you wanted to make mention of here before I let you go?
I'd just like to say thanks to my brother, Jordan Ingram, Jason Young, Corey Woodcott, Tristan Young, all the guys that helped me in the shop and slug away on my cars all summer long. My girlfriend, Jordan, is just, everybody puts up with me. That's all I can do. Jeremy Gard for the engines, Roy Turner for the rear ends, everybody who helps me out.
Well, I'm sure they're proud to have their name on your car with the success that you've had, and I wish you more of it. Looking forward to catching up with you. Unfortunately, the same day as that Paradise Derby, we're going to go to San Filippo and Morris, so you're going to be 7 minutes from the studio, but we're not going to catch up on that Sunday. If you're in the area, by all means, it'd be great to have you stop in the studio that Monday following. And we look forward to seeing you down there in October when we all get to Woodstock down at Chaos in the Valley.
So now, is the studio in Waterloo?
It's in Seneca Falls.
Seneca Falls. I stayed both Friday night and Saturday night. I stayed in Waterloo at the Holiday Inn that you have your party at. I stay at that hotel quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, I'm learning that now. And we were over there. I was over there Friday trying to finalize everything for the New Year's Eve party. So the New Year's Eve party is moving forward, and I know I got a bunch of people asking about the ticketing and things along those lines. I'm trying to finish the contract and make sure that we don't have any surprises like we did last year, and make sure everything's done the right way before we release it. But that's going to happen. Yep. We're going to be back over there for New Year's.
That's good.
Well, wish you the best of luck. Good luck. Build safe, drive safe, and hopefully you bring home a couple more W's before the end of 2017.
We'll do our best. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dustin. We'll catch up with you soon.
Take care. Bye.
There goes Dustin Ingram, the winner of the Lake Erie Rumble Saturday in Dunkirk, New York. He referenced a couple different things that is of interest to our listener base. Have everybody take a look at this. Chaos in the Valley was one of those shows that he had mentioned. Chaos in the Valley, the 21st of October, down at the Shenandoah County Fairgrounds in Woodstock, Virginia. We're going to be back down there with Jason and Penny Shipe and the Tomsboro Volunteer Fire Department. And the show's always awesome, and I'm excited to see Dustin come down and try his luck against these guys. The Weld class is now open to Imperials and Hearses. The card includes the compact division, the stock division, the Weld class, the trucks, the vans. Jason Shipe on the line, on the phone, 540-335-7510, 540-335-7510, Shenandoah County Fairgrounds, Woodstock, Virginia, Chaos in the Valley, the 21st of October. Also coming up, not far from now, is the Brookfield Wheel Days event. September the 23rd at the Madison County Fairgrounds in Brookfield, New York. King Smash from Crash from Derby hosts the annual fall cleanup show in Madison County. This show has been part of our schedule dating back to 2011. It's always a hard-hitting show, always fun to go to. We're going to be free streaming that one. Josh is going to be coming over and helping us on the mics. I think Andy Lee is going to try and get some time off so he can come and work the cameras for us. We might even try to go a little bit bolder with our camera selection this year compared to what we did last year. We'll see how things play out that way. John King's in charge of it, 315-750-6956, 315-750-6956 on Facebook, King Smash 'em, Crash 'em, if you want more information on that one. Upcoming events for Stern Dirt Racing, they had the West Jordan Beatdown over the weekend. Upcoming September the 16th is the Day of Reckoning. It's that event at the all-new Utah State Fair venue in Salt Lake City. And then just a couple weeks from now, we're going to be back in Utah ourselves for that Run What You Brung Halloween Havoc event. A couple different divisions that you can pick from. Bring the car over, bring a little bit of metal. You can either add it to move up a class, or you can stay right where you are. They'll find someplace for you to run. Stern Dirt Racing, all the details are online, sterndirtracing.com. BlizzardBash.com. Upcoming events for Smash It Demolition Derbies. There's 2 left for Smash It in their regular county fair schedule. Guernsey County in Old Washington, Ohio, is coming up on the 15th of September. Leaf class mini-cars, full-size trucks, youth class, ladies-only compacts, and the Power Wheels. And then on the 23rd is Ashland County, which is in Ashland, Ohio. Leaf class, mini-cars, trucks, youth class, Power Wheels. Smash It Demolition Derbies online, smashitderby.com. They're also giving away a couple Baldwin engines when we get to Blizzard Bash here in just a couple weeks. This is another one that Dustin alluded to when we were on the phone with him, Blizzard Bash 2017. Jump online for the full agenda, blizzardbash.com. The finishing touches are being put on the driver roster as we speak. That's on the to-do list to get that out there. And once we get the final word that the roster is complete, we'll release all the information on the Fantasy League. I know a lot of you fans are looking forward to that. That is all coming up right around the corner. And again, it's only about 60 days away. November 8th to the 12th are the dates for Blizzard Bash, Kansas Expo Center in Topeka, Kansas. Thursday the 9th is the National and Qualifying Team Round 1. Friday the 10th, RC Derby starts at 9 o'clock, National and Qualifying Team Round 2 in the 14 to 17-year-old youth class, also on the schedule. Saturday the 11th at 10 o'clock is the Compact and Limited Weld Team first rounds. Tons of cars lined up for that one. I think they're up about 12, 14 teams in both of those brackets. It's going to be stacked when you see that one. First round for them at 10 o'clock on Saturday the 11th. That's part of the doubleheader. 6 o'clock is the Power Wheels. All the Team B mains, the trucks, the youth, and the bone stock. Also part of that 6 o'clock show. And then we get 2 championships Sunday, National Qualifying Limited Well and Compact Team A mains, the order of the day. 1 o'clock start time for that one. Let's see. Let's go here next. We heard talk about Paradise Speedway Derby, the Ellison's Fall Cleanup Show on September the 30th that Dustin Ingram's coming to town for. And we said that we were going to be out of town. We're going to be at the San Filippo Smash at Otsego County Fairgrounds in Morris, New York on the 30th of September. There's a class for everybody. It ends with the Wipeout-style San Filippo Smash, where anything left running comes out and battles for the San Filippo Cup. Limited weld rules are the max of the cars that are allowed: compacts, trucks, vans, full size. You name it, bring them out. Josh Decker's wife, Katie, is going to be in competition in the Queen's Clash during the course of that day. So that's kind of cool that she's going to be out there running and battling away here at the upcoming San Filippo Smash. Again, September the 30th at Otsego County Fairgrounds in Morris, New York. And also on that day, as if that wasn't enough Derby action for one day, Battle at the Border 3 with Derby Dog Productions is scheduled for September the 30th. $50 entry per car per class. Gates open at 9 o'clock. The Derby's at 3. They have a ton of different divisions to pick from. 4,000 to win Pro Stock full size, 3,000 to win Pro Modified full size, 3,000 to win Pure Stock Compacts, 3,000 to win 80s Wire class, the 5-foot class, the full size truck, stock minivan, light truck, and SUV, modified mini V8 trucks, Pro Mod Compacts, youth classes for the Wire Compacts and the stock compacts at the Ashtabula County Fairgrounds, 127 North Elm Street, Jefferson, Ohio. Online, DerbyDog-Productions.com. That's online, DerbyDog-Productions.com. And we did spin and wheel. So the last one to tell you about for now, February the 10th, 2018. We're already looking at February, if you can believe that, getting down to the Hernando County Fairgrounds in Brooksville, Florida. That's 6436 Broad Street in Brooksville. The 2-man team demolition derby, 20 teams from all over the nation competing. Mad Mike DeFrecia is going to be part of the derby down there. It's going to be a good one, and we're going to be streaming that one as well. Again, the Florida Southern National Showdown, February the 10th, 2018. So now we got to change gears a little bit and get to longtime friend of the show, Chris Lancaster. And again, this is the part we need to hold on to your hat because it's going to get riveting. You have to watch me dial a phone. I think we got Chris. Are you there? Hey, let me put you in. Flying solo tonight makes it a little bit challenging, but nonetheless, we're fighting through it. Chris Lancaster joining us on the line. Congratulations, man, coming up with a win in Corcoran, Minnesota. That car looked like it was pretty used up when you got it back home.
No, that was the Mandan car. She's good for, I
wish I wrecked her. She's still too straight.
Oh, I misunderstood. I had it backwards then. I'm sorry about that. So you ran the Mandan car at the show over the weekend in Corcoran, and the Boattail Riviera tribute car was run someplace else.
Correct.
Okay.
Awesome. The Boattail Rivi was a chain stock or Wisconsin chain stock car. About 30 cars. Brandon Johnson, a bunch of really good drivers. Pagel, Muse, and then Corcoran was just a smaller county fair with the Weld car.
Gotcha. So tell me a little bit about the run with the leftover Mandan car. This was the car from Mandan last year that was still straight, and now you brought it home, came away with a win in this one, and unfortunately it's still straight.
Yeah, so that's the caddy that we took out there. That one, man, that was before they tuned down the rules. Those were a fun set of rules because there were a lot of fun, creative areas where you could weld and weld.
Right.
And then we did well in the heat, and unfortunately that's where I got into Tanner a little bit, well, not a little bit, a lot bit.
Right.
So that car was kind of cursed.
Sure. So was it a walk in the park then? The magician just showed up and they gave you a check and you didn't even hardly have to drive it?
Yeah, no. It was fun because it was John, myself, and there were I think it was 5 other guys, and basically it was 5-on-2 the entire way.
Oof.
And John and I just kind of worked together, and he lost his steering right away. And we just slowly kind of took tires out and wheels out, pushed them on the berm. And at the end, it was 2-on-1, and we kind of took advantage of the 2-on-1 a little bit, which the officials reminded us that we probably shouldn't have. And then I pushed John in the corner.
Right, and with no steering, that was all she wrote. But you're on a little bit of a hot streak. You came away with a second place a couple of weeks ago there to John Muse. And then you guys turn around and you return the favor to him, coming up with the win here in Corcoran.
Yeah, John's amazing. Well, I love John and his parts. Best parts you can get NLR, but he's an amazing driver. He just doesn't run a lot of the big shows. Mm-hmm. He likes to win the little local shows. So we got nose to nose at the end. At the last show, I probably had a little bit more car, but because John's such a good guy, and I just wanted to have fun with him. I nosed him, and at full speed. Then he bent, and then he wanted to actually derby. I'm like, come on, and then he beat me. And this time he said, I said, this time it's my turn.
Right. You went and made him mad, and then look what happened.
Right?
So you've got second place, and it turned into a win, and then you had the tribute car with the Boattail Riviera. You've got tell me a little bit about that car.
So the Boattail is awesome because it's a 3-day build. It's a big show for the county in that Balsam Lake. They used to get like a lot more cars. It's got 20, 30 cars, big party in the pits. Everyone's hanging out. You get big names, Brandon Johnson, Pagel, Mavis, a bunch of guys. Drury, who won Crossroads, was there. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at some really top-notch chain cars.
Right.
And you go and have a ton of fun. So we just threw the car together, and in honor of my uncle, he's actually the guy that got me into derbying. He was born with a congenital defect where he only has one arm, mm-hmm. and he used to derby with one arm, so it's kind of cool.
That's very cool. So he had to steer and shift using the same hand?
Yeah.
Jeez. that sounds exhausting.
Yeah, he never won, but he drank a lot of beer and he had a lot of fun wrecking shit.
You can't go wrong with that. That's what that's what it originally started as, but it's gotten a little bit more serious as time's gone on. And taking a look at that driver's list for Blizzard Bash, you're going to be taking the dive into deep, serious waters here this year in Blizzard Bash when it comes up. It's right around the corner.
Yeah, we just pulled in so I'm running a 73 Caddy. Mm-hmm. We just pulled that in. Eric's almost done because, Eric can't be.
Yes.
God knows he can't be doing anything at the last minute.
Yes. And I'm trying to make sure that I remember this correctly. This is the first year that you're in the national bracket, correct?
No, second year.
Second year. Okay, second year. What'd you learn from the first time through?
Last year, Eric got knocked out.
Yeah, that's right. That's
so
right.
We learned to put a lot of padding in Eric's car. A lot of padding. Pillows, blankets, airbags.
But I mean, all joking aside, I mean to be pulling the car in right now, it seems late in the going to be starting on the Blizzard Bash car.
Nah, once you've built them a couple times, the key areas that we've learned and the different things we're going to try, the parts are showing up the next couple weeks, so that's the only thing that we're kind of waiting on. All the core stuff is all mapped out, and now it's just put it together and spend the time welding.
When we were talking with Dustin Ingram, he said that he tries to run all summer long to keep his driving skills up, which is different than some of the things that we heard from other drivers who say that they prefer to drive on the national level because that's what makes them a better driver. Here we're talking about you building a little bit of momentum on a little bit of a streak here with a couple top 2 finishes. Where do you fall in terms of that conversation? Do you want to drive as much as you can to keep your skills up?
I think you want to drive where you're feeling confident. You need to drive enough where you're feeling sharp, because the last thing you want to do is go into Blizzard Bash being rusty. At least that's my opinion.
Sure.
But I don't know if you need to run every show is not the same show.
Valid. Yep.
You're going to gain more, in my opinion, from running. It doesn't have to be a big show or a small show, but if you run a show that's pretty competitive, you're going to be a lot better prepared than if you run a show where there's 3 cars, 4 cars. Good, you made money, but you didn't really hone your skills.
Sure. So I mean, at this point, are you feeling more confident going into the build for the Cadillac and getting ready for Blizzard Bash than years past? I mean, it feels like you're building momentum at the right time of year.
I feel great. I mean, I think Blizzard Bash is so different in that it's not just you two.
Right.
Like, I've run a bunch with Mitch, Eric's about Dakota, so we could get some more time together to run a derby. Chivers won $15,000 in Utah, and his car will weigh 20,000 pounds this year. So I feel great.
I mean, obviously, the clear answer is go to come away with a win when you size up Blizzard Bash in the big picture. What is the team goal? What's the mission when you guys get out there this year? Aside from making sure that Eric doesn't get KO'd and split his helmet, what is the team mission? When you walk away from that, what do you have to have under your belt in order to call the trip to Topeka a success?
I think for us, our primary goal is to make the feature and then see what happens from there. If we can make the feature, I think it's a success, and then you got to feel really good about that. I'm sure, like everyone says, the heat draws are so critical. Everyone's good, but there's a few teams that everyone has on their list that you're like, I really don't want to draw them, or they're not they're not the best matchup for us.
Right. Like who? Like who?
I can't say who.
I knew you weren't going to say anything, but I figured it was worth asking.
I genuinely believe, I'm not going to say who, but there is something to be said that some teams like to drive slow, some teams like to drive fast, and if you get into a spot where it's not a good matchup, I think that's where that can be problematic.
You can pay dearly if you don't come out there ready to meet the pace or be the one to set the pace. You can be in real trouble in a real hurry. And we've often said that that's one of the things about Blizzard Bash is you need to come out on the hammer. You need to be the ones that are setting the pace. Because if you're not, you're going to get left behind. You cannot afford to sit still there. The walls are unforgiving. The cars are unforgiving. The hits are violent and fast, and they come at you. And as soon as there's blood in the water, those drivers that you're out there against, even though there's only 8 cars on the track at a time, the drivers that you're against, once that blood's in the water, they're coming for you, and they're going to take you out in a hurry.
Well, and the other thing is, so this is our second year all running together.
Right.
Don't underestimate how much that makes a difference when you like I run with Mitch all summer long. Mm-hmm. I can look at Mitch and I know what he's going to do. And the teams that have that have a huge advantage and the teams that are kind of learning it out and working it together, sometimes that creates a little bit of a challenge for them.
We talked a little bit with Dustin earlier as well on the topic of coming back year after year and holding on to that spot and the challenge that it is to basically start over. Go back to the qualifying bracket, have to win your way in, have to earn that spot, and then once you earn the spot in the pool of 16, from there you have to keep it, prove that you belong there. How valuable is that spot in the national draw now that you guys had to take the long way around to get it? You came through the qualifying bracket 2 years ago, and now the last two Blizzard Bashes, you've been able to get in the main draw and keep that spot.
I mean, you nailed it. You take a lot of pride on being able to, and we take even more pride to say that we earned our way in there.
Sure.
That there's a ton of pride on saying we earned our way in there, we've kept it, we were able to run with the best. And it's enough to make, Eric and Ryan spend thousands of dollars towing 24, 30 hours to get out there. And it's not about the money, it's about the prestige and really to be able to say we competed with the best of the best in the country.
Mm-hmm. There was one more thing that I wanted to hit on, changing gears a little bit, and you sent me that message about it, and it was intriguing, and I ran it by Dustin after some of the stuff that shook out on Saturday, and his thought on if your car passes inspection initially, then from there, does the car have to go back through post-race tech? And he said, county fair level, to cut my car apart, it's not really something that I feel is necessary because the car's worth more than what I'm actually going to win. But at the national level, when he won Bash for Cash a couple of years ago and they cut his car apart, he was also walking out of there with $11,000, and he was pretty much at peace with it. What's your take on that?
So my take is I agree with him on the county fair level. I mean, don't cut a car up at a county fair level. But what I would say is cut the frame open to see if there's anything loaded or stuffed.
Sure.
If it's a big money show, national, county fair, if it's defined as a big money, cut the frame open and look. Mm-hmm. And if you find something because you cut the frame open, I think it's all fair and game to disqualify them. Mm-hmm. But I think if it's not that, if it's something that could have been caught, was noticed, was an oversight, you missed it, maybe you were focused on other things, I think what's done is done. The inspectors owe it to the driver and the competitors that the cars out there, outside of those extenuating circumstances, are the competitors. Otherwise, it just opens up way too much bullshit.
Sure. Did you, after you guys won the qualifying bracket a couple years ago at Blizzard Bash, did you guys have to go through any type of reinspection after the event was over?
I don't think they did a significant reinspection after it.
I don't remember there being one. I don't remember there being one either. I remember going to shows where cars were just laced right open, man, and things were cut to pieces, and it was justifiably so. And oftentimes, I think more often than not, you find that the win stands. Very few instances where I remember a decision being overruled in post-race tech because something untoward was found.
Yeah, I think. See, that's the thing is, if you loaded your frame, then that's something you should get DQ'd on.
Right.
If there's a bolt that was an inch too long, or your cage was some of those measurements, things you could have fixed earlier, those things you got to just let them go and roll with them. And I think the reason why you don't hear about it outside of certain circumstances is most techs and a lot of the good national promoters get that.
I was told to ask you about a 57 Cadillac.
The 58,
58, okay. The year was wrong, but tell me more about that being the hot new Derby car, and that's the one that everybody's going to have to start going after.
My buddy, or my old neighbor, he built one. He had one, and we built it, and I'll never do that again. I thought it would be cool and fun. X-frame, so the drive line's a pain in the, doesn't fit very well.
Right.
It's got a little C-channel frame up front.
frame's doubled on the top seams of your rear rails, that really helps it go up. But it was fun. He got destroyed.
It didn't go.
Of course, it had a Caddy 500.
Right. Of course it did. Why wouldn't it? If you want to stack the deck against yourself even more, just leave that stock motor in it, right?
I have the best stock derby motor ever.
more displacement to heat up, right? It's a bigger motor. It takes it longer to get hot.
It takes longer to get hot. It doesn't even need water. Just don't run many RPMs with it.
You had a big block Cadillac motor in that Winter Slam car, right? That was the Thunderbird, I think.
Yeah, don't take them in the winter.
No,
don't take them in the winter. I learned that. They don't fire in the cold unless you put a barbecue and a heater on them.
You got to run a block heater on it. So with this 58 Cadillac that you built, where did it go, and what did you use as the base to start figuring out how to build the thing? Because with the X-frame, the drive shaft passes through where the two frame rails come together, right?
Yeah, it's completely enclosed like a sprint car. If you think about it, it's a good probably 2-3 feet of enclosed area, and that's what holds your whole frame together. So you can't cut too much of it out of it.
Right.
But it's got a natural stock slider, which is kind of interesting because it's got that carrier bearing, and then the slider connects in the back.
Sure. So did you look at the frame and say, hey, we might be able to build it like this, or use this as the blueprint? They're doing this to this type of frame from the 60s or the 70s, and use that as sort of a starting point, or did you just build it in 3 days and call it good?
No, that one took way more than 3 days. Well, we ran that one. That was the one where Eric flew out to Faribault, Rice County. We ran with Clark Velsky and Spencer Velsky. It was kind of fun.
Right.
Eric flies out and drives the 59 T-Bird. I ran a 62 Merc, and then we had a 58 Caddy, and we thought it'd be fun to bring all these old cars to this little county fair, kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Right. And I guess Sam Bando showed up and didn't know that it was your buddy and teed off on that Cadillac until it was done.
Oh, Bando ruined it. He pushed the cage out the door, the trunks over the... He hammered it.
Were you guys mad at him because he didn't realize that it was coming out of your camp?
No, I thought it was hilarious. It was awesome.
That's good.
We all had fun. I mean, the point of why I love Bando and why Bando is such a great driver. Bando, like window.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Bando is such a great driver because he hammers.
He does.
And shake hands afterward.
He does like to go hard. That's for certain. That's there's no question about that.
I'd like to say that he went after the 58 Caddy because he knew it was the competition and he had to get the hardest car out first, but that's probably not true.
We can go with it. I mean, if we're the only ones talking right now, we'll go with it. I can commit that to memory. He went after it because he knew he had to get it out of the way. We'll put that one in. We'll put that one in stone. Fair enough. So on this little bit of a run that you've had, is anybody that you wanted to make mention of that's helping you keep going and helping you ride this hot streak as we get closer to Blizzard Bash?
Well, I would just say my biggest thing is obviously Jill, as you know.
Yep.
She's out there welding, helping, and love her to death, and couldn't do it without her. And then probably just more recently, John Muse, John Mavis, NLL Parts. I mean, he can do anything you want, custom made. His stuff is just top notch. And as we've gone and we run more national levels, he just keeps raising the bar on the products he's building. And then I'd just say Mitch, I've been fun running with him lately.
Well, he's a good dude to have in your corner, that's for sure. I mean, have you been bouncing ideas off him, and is he sharing some knowledge?
Yeah, John will share some knowledge, but he only runs Vic, so he just says old irons suck.
Well, to each their own, right?
Right.
We know old irons where
he
it's
doesn't really say that. He just likes his new iron stuff.
Hey, he builds a tough car. He can hold his own in those. We've seen him do some damage with Crown Vics. And Luminous, for that matter. But, well,
I want to get him on, man. That guy is made $6,000 in one Lumina little compact chain car. goes to every little county show and wins $1,000, $2,000 here. He's got those things. He's figuring them out.
We've tried to have him on in the past, and I think he gets a little gun shy about it at times. But if you've got his ear on a regular basis, put the bug in it. We'll have him on for sure.
I'll see what I can do.
I'll message him again, and I'm going to message him again and tell him that you'll be talking to him about it. Maybe that'll change his opinion on it. Maybe he'll come on then. We can only hope. Chris, man, I appreciate you coming on the show for a little while. Congratulations on the win. I think it's awesome you ran the tribute car and that it held up as well as it did. Good story on the 58 Cadillac, and by all means, wish you the best going into Blizzard Bash this year.
Cool. I'll see you out there.
We'll see you there, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey, take care.
There goes Chris Lancaster. Came away with the win in Corcoran, Minnesota. Second place to John Mavis, NLR, whatever you might call it. We had an RC Derby at Radio Hill Raceway down in Dundee over the weekend. Young Alex Dykes coming away with the win in that one. Alex is a bit of a unique kid. He doesn't have use of one of his hands. So when he drives his RC car, he basically has to clutch it with one hand and run both the throttle and the steering with the other. And he is a heck of a driver and came away with the win in the RC Derby. Over the weekend as well, Ed Brewster was in action with the ECC and East Coast Championship Derby at JMW Motorsports Park. And they were real busy down there with tons of stuff going on. Ed's joining us on the line right now. Ed, how's the ECC?
The ECC was great, Chris. Man, it told me, though, I tell you, I'm dragging today. Actually, I appreciate that message when you hit me up. That was a wake-up alarm for me. So, I might be a slight foggy. Old guy had to take a nap.
That's all right. We'll make it short and sweet for you. I just wanted to know how it went, how many cars, and who won.
Let's see. I got a couple notes in front of me here. I've left my books at the track, and feeling a little naked as far as info, but I pulled it up. Daniel Roberts took a top spot in the East Coast Championship.
Good for him.
At Ohio. And let's see, we had a few locals running in it, and we had one of our locals, David Bryant, picked up the second place.
Nice.
And then Chris Brothers out of New York picked up third place at the ECC this year.
Excellent. Good deal.
So, yeah, we did have a lot going, Chris. We had the outlaw class, we had figure eight racing, truck class, derby, endurance, and just having a ton of fun between all of this stuff. The real highlight was the derby cars for kids out there. That was just amazing.
Tell us more about that deal. That's an awesome program that's going on.
Yeah, it really is, man. I got to get more info out on that. Steve Siopa sponsored on that this time, and also Butch Fisco. And what they do, they put up a car, totally, completely set up, ready to run. And we issue out tickets for kids 13 and younger, and they all get the chance to win that car and go to the Derby. And it's just a great thing for the kids and something positive for them to get into. And I can't say enough about it. It's just really tremendous, and I'm going to put more focus in that for future events.
And you guys are going to be doing that again when you get down to Florida, correct?
Yeah, it looks like Florida is going to pan out for us, and hopefully I can get some drivers from down that way on board with the Derby cars for kids. I think that would, probably ramp it up in Florida more for the RC Derby as well.
I don't think it's going to be hard. It's a pretty generous neck of the woods down there with J.C. Molly's, John Cash. The Siopas are involved with it. I don't think you'll have too much trouble. Smith Metalworks, I believe, also involved with that program in the past.
Yeah, hey, you really said it when you said, J.C. and John Cash, they were big push behind the Derby cars for kids coming along. And I was happy today to see them hitting that on Facebook, knowing they're okay down there. I tell you what, the truck class Derby was tremendous, and the main sponsor on that was J.C. Molly, John Cash, Destination Florida. And the little truck Derby was heavy hitting, and just a great weekend altogether
Yep. They're good people. They're good people. We're going to be down there again in February when we get down there for that Southern Shootout event. I assume that you're going to be there as well. I'm hoping so. And I'll put all the Derby stuff in a box and send it down. You can drive it down from Virginia.
Okay, we can do that, Chris.
I talked with.
Go
ahead.
Go ahead.
I talked to Mike Cooley up here. You remember Mike? And he's interested in trying to get out to Topeka. So I told him to reach out to you because I know you're looking for somebody to ride with on the way out to Topeka, Kansas in the Explorer. So I'm hoping that maybe you guys can get together and Mike can get out there for the RC Derby at Blizzard Bash.
That would be awesome, man. I would definitely get in touch with him. My riding partner, at least somebody to talk to, would be great because I start talking to myself and I'm pretty boring. So I could use a little company.
Well,
and you're talking about Florida, and I was getting ready to say, Topeka is just around the corner.
Yep.
And got to really start getting ramped up for that.
Yep. We gotta start getting all the team lists together, getting the team list compiled, and all that for the RC Derby because the RC Derby does a team format just like the main draw does. So it's going to be an entertaining one. We're going to have a little bit of space to ourselves and a little bit more time to work with too. So it's going to be a fun one. And we said it earlier in the show. Those next 60 days are going to tick off awful fast.
That's for sure, Chris. One thing I would like to make mention of, Chris, we had the local David Bryant that placed second in the ECC. He took his national build caddy into the Outlaw run.
Uh-huh.
And he came up to me before he even did it. He said, "Do you think I stand a chance with this and that?" And I said, "Well, David," I said, "likely they're going to tear it up." I said, "But, if you want to, go for it." I said, "I would find it pretty impressive." Well, he did pretty good. He didn't do a top 3, but I tell you what, Cadillac with the redesign, it held its own in there, and it come out of there magnificent. We couldn't believe it. So that's definitely a top quality build coming out of J&W now.
Awesome.
And then the Steve Siopa edition car, Chrissy Warren took that to a 4th place finish in the ECC.
Very cool.
Her first qualifier, she made it in, but we saw a couple of things with the body that wasn't bending the way we liked it. So she drug it on over to the shop and threw it to Dave. And he had it ready for the next morning for the ECC. And she did tremendously well in there.
Awesome.
The body was in just great shape even after that derby. So, this Steve Siopa car, we're really tickled about him working with us on that. And we're real happy the way that car did at the ECC, because they were really hammering it down in the ring.
Well, that's all Demolition Derby is anymore. It's R&D, finding ways to get the cars to bend exactly where you want them to bend. And another case where the RC world is modeling real life. They redesign, and finally hit on something, and the JMW cars are holed up against everybody else. I like the sounds of that.
Yeah, I definitely do too, Chris. The one advantage we had was we were right there at home, and when we saw what happened with any bodies, we were able to go right to the shop and take care of it right then, opposed to selling these and then seeing what happens to them and taking too long to,
Sure.
bring them up to par.
Yep. I get that. Well, I'm glad that the show is a success, and I think from here, your next big one is going to be, you'll be at Chaos in the Valley in October, at the end of October on the 21st, and then from there, it's all steam ahead to Blizzard Bash.
Yeah. Like you said, the days are flipping by really quick.
Yep.
So your schedule's going to get busy. It won't feel like hardly a week between Woodstock and Topeka, I'm sure. And then after Topeka, Tyler, it's time to start getting ready for the Florida event. And actually, the Florida event is just the weekend before Motorama, so I'm only going to be able to drop in home for about a day and be heading to Pennsylvania.
Kathy's going to love that. You'll be out of her hair for a good long time.
Well, the wife's okay with it. JM, he's not liking it much. I didn't hardly see him for the last 3 days. He's been pretty hectic since I've been home today.
JM is the pet pig. He's a
Yeah.
good guy. Well, Ed, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. I'm glad ECC was a success, and I'll see you in about 6 weeks when we're down at Chaos in the Valley.
Man, yeah, definitely, Chris. And if I could just throw out Casey Smith Metal Works. Appreciate you backing and sponsorship. And, of course, JC Miley, John Cash, the crew down there. Appreciate y'all sponsorship and glad everybody's okay down there.
Yep.
So, well, Chris, man, I appreciate you having me on.
For sure. We'll look forward to doing it again.
All righty. You take care, buddy.
Appreciate it, Ed. That was Ed Brewster with the ECC down at JMW Motorsports Park in Midlothian, Virginia. We made reference of it. Jump online. There's just look up the Blizzard Bash RC Derby. There's a dedicated page with rules and information. More information is going to be starting to trickle out on that in the coming days. As we sort of targeted the beginning of September, getting the momentum rolling on that, and been a little bit delayed on finishing the touches on the 2017 rule listing, etc. So I think, all things considered, that's going to do it for us here at the FingerLakes1.com studios in the North Park building here at Academy Square. We appreciate everybody tuning in for episode number 196. We'll be back again next Monday for another one. Hopefully get some other bodies in the studio. We'll have more more Utah talk with Halloween Havoc right around the corner. We'll have more San Filippo talk. We'll have more conversation on Battle at the Border, and of course more on Blizzard Bash as that thing continues to gain momentum and turns into takes evolution into the monster derby that it is year after year. We'll see everybody again next time. We appreciate it.
The Crash Course Live is presented by Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, hosts of May Mania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah, online at stirringdirtracing.com. Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.